I didn't ever know very much about my parents. Now I wish they were still alive so I could ask them about Ellis Island, how they came, why they came, where they lived when they were here. There's just so much they didn't talk about.
One of the most challenging things is, how do you identify a Basque? What is it that makes somebody Basque? And for centuries, in fact, the Basques identify themselves, Euskalduna, somebody who has the Basque language, Euskera. So what happens for that as they've gone all the way around the world, as Basque language becomes less dominant, what features are going to be maintained? And it's really interesting to see here in the Treasure Valley the aspects of culture that have survived and that there's been an initiative to try and maintain versus other parts that may not have survived.
I think there's a pride in being Basque, and so and it is thought of as being something unique, and maybe people are interested in standing out in some way. And so I don't know, you can't really say that it's now surnames that identifies everybody, or even, you know, features that someone would say that they're Basque. And even that question of who is Basque? Is it Euskaldunak, the speakers of Euskera? Is it people that only were born in the Basque country? Is it people that feel that they are Basque? And so that question's even somewhat difficult to answer, even in the Basque country today.
One thing I've realized is that being Basque is not one thing. It's a really complex identity. We don't have a country, so being Basque has this really kind of transitional status to it. You kind of pick the things that really matter to you and the things you can embrace, and that's what starts to identify you.
It's important that we don't just place labels on these cultures and these races and these nationalities. It's important to really understand the people and the forces that they live through that shape them into who they are, not just what kind of wine they drink and tapas they make and pinchos.
You speak with young Basques today, all across Boise, all across America. They're really proud of their culture and want to continue and want to further it and want to learn more about it. You know, they want to know more than the stories that their grandparents told them, but make their own.
I think it's important to preserve these stories because once they're gone, they're gone. And we know that there are always points in history where you need to look back and you need to understand where you came from. And the world is becoming so much more homogenized now. There's less and less that seems unique. And if you don't understand the cultures that you come from on a deeper level and you don't pass that on, there's a tremendous amount, I think, that is lost.
So from the founding of the New World, Basques have been leaving to fishing expeditions and to early whaling. So from about the 11th century on, we have evidence of Basques leaving the Basque country. From the 16th century on, we know that most of Columbus's crew in the late part of the 15th century was of Basque ancestry, and we know that Basques were critical to the settling and the exploration rather and settling of the New World. The Basque to the American West is really a secondary migration. So I think it makes the most sense to think of them, the Basques, as continually leaving, and to South America as being the main point of settlement in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries. The movement into the United States is a secondary movement. It really begins with the California Gold Rush and a secondary migration of those coming from Argentina and coming up the western coast and settling in California to take advantage of opportunities connected with the gold rush. So very few of them really got involved in mining or any extraction of gold. Most of them got involved in complementary industries, and for the Basques, this ended up being about sheep herding primarily, although livestock to some degree, but primarily about sheep.